This is going to be a different video from what I typically post on YouTube. This is going to be more of a rant and a ramble talking about my personal opinion on a game as opposed to trying to highlight the highs and lows and who I feel like it's good for. This is the first video that's part of the Art of Brawling series, which is a series I host on my website. It's more opinion based and typically focuses on fighting games and beat 'em up games. In this case, I'll be talking about a wrestling game, so I think it's more in the realms of a fighting game. Wrestling Empire is a game that came out January 2021 that's available for the Nintendo Switch, the PC via Steam, and smartphones. So for those that don't know, this game was created by one person. The graphics, the gameplay, the storylines, everything, from my understanding, it was all created by one person, which alone to me makes it awesome. The first thing I'm going to do is, even though I'm in this particular video, I'm hoping to talk about why I think you should buy this, especially if you're a wrestling fan. But even if you're not a wrestling fan, as a fan of fighters, you might find this very appealing. I just kind of want to get the negatives out, the negatives in quotations. Graphic wise, this game is hideous, and I say that in the most endearing way as possible. It looks like a very polished Nintendo 64 game, maybe kind of a PlayStation 2 type game, like an early PlayStation 2 game. But trust me, if graphics aren't like a make or break thing for you, this game is still worth looking into. Gameplay wise, it isn't super technical. It's definitely more on the realm of arcade style. It reminds me of the SmackDown games, like the early SmackDown games, like a mix between the early SmackDown games and like No Mercy from Nintendo 64. Which to me is a good sign because for me personally, those haven't really aged terribly. They're still very viable games that are pick up and play. 4 major reasons why I think you should look into getting this game and why I love it so much. Number 1, match types. As you started to see in the video already, there is a ton of customization in regards to match types. You can do a singles match, you can do a street fight, you can do a first blood, you can do a sumo contest. One of my favorite matches is called War in the game. It's an elimination style mode where you can set how someone can be eliminated. It can be done via ref stoppage, it can be done via submission, via pinfall, no health, any combination of in between. And in this game, you can have as up to 30 characters simultaneously in one match. Now, I personally wouldn't recommend that. I think the game itself, too, typically caps around 20, 25 that they recommend. But you can do that if you want to. The frame rate drops a little bit, but I think you can get away with 20 to 25 depending on how many weapons you have. That's another thing as well. You can customize everything in regards to the match. You can change the arena. There are arenas that look like UFC locations. There are arenas that look like the 6-sided ring in TNA. You can do things in an office. I'm going to be having gameplay from this game and things like that in the background while I'm rambling. So please feel free to stop and slow it down so you can see everything. There's a ton of customization when it comes to match types, and for me, that's a very big thing. The second reason why I like this game, as is currently showing on the screen now, is the character selection. Now, this game has easily over 300, I think 327, I should have probably counted, but it's easily over 300 different characters or wrestlers across several different leagues. Now, the game itself does not have, there's no licensing here, so you're not going to see any real people. You're going to see people with similar likeness to real people, but they won't be specifically real people. But what you can do is you can actually edit the characters already in it, change their names. As you saw, I went through my list here. I took the time out to actually edit as many people as possible that I recognized or I remembered. It might not be 100% accurate, but there's certain people to me where it's like, oh, that's, Charlotte Flair, that's Shinsuke Nakamura. In this particular case, I created from scratch Orange Cassidy. It's not 100% accurate, but it's accurate enough for me. And having that option where you have literally over 300 characters to choose from, and if you don't like those characters, you can edit them. So you can edit characters that you want to completely get rid of and replace them with characters or wrestlers, whether they're original or based on real life people, to be what you want it to be. So to have that character selection option, that giving me a boatload of characters, and if I don't like them, I can retweak them and readjust them to be someone that I do like. Or maybe I want to create just 300 original wrestlers or original ideas that I have. It's something that I can do, and it's done easily in this game. Now, my third point is something that I think for me is what makes the game on itself. Everything else is kind of the icing on the cake, but this in particular, the career mode in this game is one of the best career modes I've ever played in a wrestling game. And I have over 20 years of experience playing wrestling games. The career mode in this, you're essentially you create your character from scratch. You can add a variety of things. In this video, I'll show you what some of the customization options are. The customization in this, I would describe it to me, it kind of reminds me of Attitude for the PlayStation and Nintendo 64 and the Dreamcast. You have a lot of customization options. Again, graphically, you're limited because of the graphics, but you can work with a lot of different options here, which is cool. Going back to the career mode, you start off as a wrestler that's not part of a federation. You're in wrestling school, you're actually paying to be there, and you're doing matches to kind of increase your popularity to get recognized by other companies and eventually be signed by them. How you approach that is entirely up to you. You have the option to lose matches, you have the option to win matches. Sometimes your coach will give you some recommendations, like they might recommend you change your move set or change your music, and you have the right to choose whether or not you listen to it. Eventually, the intended goal is for you to get picked up by another company. Once you get picked up by a company, that's when the game's career kind of kicks into overdrive. You start making friends, you start making enemies. People want to jump you. You might sign a contract that specifically pays you to lose. For an example, I'm showing Kimbet Slice, an original character that I made on screen right now. The first career mode I did with this character, one of the first contracts I got actually wasn't from a wrestling federation at all. It was from Hollywood, and they hired me specifically to lose matches. Like, literally, I would not get paid unless I lost a match. But if I wanted to maintain my popularity and have other companies continue to look at me, I had to make sure I was doing quality-based matches. If I just kind of lost all the time and didn't give a fight, I wouldn't get the rub from the wrestlers in Hollywood that would increase my popularity. People can die in the career mode. To me, that's huge. Like that level of customization, so many options that can happen. I've had career modes last close to like over 10 years where I wrestled across all different companies and received a wide variety of contracts. Towards the end of my career, I had people offer me steroids to maintain gains because over time, as your character gets older, your health kind of deteriorates a little bit. It's harder for you to recover from injuries. You have to maintain your exercise regimen. There's a lot of moving parts and things you can control. You can choose to ignore most of it if you want to, but for a better experience, it's good to stay engaged with that. Another quick example is I showed the game to my friend, and he did one career mode, and I would say he lasted about 6 months. He never made it out of wrestling school because he immediately got injured in a match with Goldberg, or the Goldberg equivalent at a trial match for a company. So just to wrap everything up, one of the biggest things for me that this game has is, and I already started talking about it a little bit, but control. The amount of control you have in this game, you can edit characters, you can change your career path, you can edit the match types, you can edit the rings. There's a lot of customization options that are available, and to have that level of control for me it's fantastic. It makes it a very entertaining game that I can play for hours upon hours. And not only that, most of the characters aren't unlocked when you have them. You unlock them by playing the career mode, so there's an additional incentive. There's also an achievement list. You can keep track of how many titles you've won across various companies. So all that, and it's $10 on PC, and I think it's actually free on mobile. And on the Switch, it's $20. I have it for the Switch. $20 for a game that provides so much content. Even graphics aside, this is phenomenal, and I would strongly recommend anyone that's interested in this game to look into it. If you want to see more footage, after this, I'm actually going to show a couple of highlights from the war match that I did, or at least my favorite parts to it. And then also as well, I intend to stream this game on Twitch. I stream every Tuesday. You can find me on Twitch, who is it good for. And starting next Tuesday, which I think will be the day after I have this video up, I'm going to start a career mode in Wrestling Empire, so you can kind of see the more details tied to the game. So Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe to my stuff. Let me know your thoughts if you like this rambling stuff or you prefer my older stuff. And check my website out for articles. Bye.